Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is our chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and we have today distinguished guest, international master, Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much for having me on again in a beautiful end of summer weather at Buffalo and Toronto both.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. And there are now so many chess events being broadcasted that we can't even figure out which one to watch. And sometimes we have to watch almost two at the same time, sometimes three. Especially today, U.S. Championship starts, both open and women championships. There was great events behind the scene in U.S. Chess Federation regarding women's issue going on, and but I would like to go to actually our beautiful game of chess. And if you can please show us the game from the third round, which was played by Magnus
Right.
Carlsen, and where he played the very unorthodox, very first move with black.
That's right. So this is Magnus Carlsen headlining the European Club Cup, which it should be mentioned, by the way, is a cup of European clubs. But as in soccer, the European clubs are allowed to have some foreign players.
Yes.
So that is why one sees not only Carlsen here, but I think was Anand playing one of the matches? Wait a second. Um, maybe I'm crossing my own wires here. I forgot to check this first. Okay. At any rate, yeah, Anand was playing too. There he is. So we have. Maybe Anand can represent Spain. That's a good question. So anyway, I'm going to present the game from round 3, where Carlsen was black against IM Bojan Maksimovic.
Mm-hmm.
And the game became extremely interesting right away because in response to e4, Carlsen played a6.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by the way, I used to play b6 in response to e4. And then I would follow that up with e6 often, even before fianchettoing my bishop.
Yeah, but I6 is preparing move B5 in certain lines, so maybe
That's correct.
it's actually, if you remember the game Karpov
Miles,
Anthony Miles, and
right.
Karpov playing this position, I think D4, and the Miles immediately played B5.
Yes. In fact, I should have thought to put that game up beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we have this easy to Google resource.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Anatoly Karpov versus Tony Miles, and there we go. So Tony Miles playing a6 against this. So let me follow this game a little bit because it also had the contours of a French defense. So Miles played b5 right away.
And knight F3 supposedly not the best move. That's what I
Well,
heard even 30 years ago whenever the game was played.
it depends. So one of the latent points of this position is that White's e4 pawn is a little difficult to defend because if you play knight c3, then b4 is going to drive it away. If you play bishop d3, you might take some of the pieces off d4, although that's very common. However, this game got Frenchified. So there we go. So black is putting pressure on e4, and okay. So now black actually looks this looks okay, so long as you don't mind possibly losing a pawn. But I played b4 to save the pawn, and now here, 2 moves from now, 3 moves from now. Wait. Okay. So it says this now has the contours of a French defense. Oh, okay. So my memory was wrong. If black had castled a few moves ago, then bishop takes h7 check would have been on. I thought that was actually an option that occurred in the game. Now, actually, black's game is not bad here. Oh yes, now bishop takes h7 check. I think does not work, or does it? Wait. let's see, my memory, black castles. That
Mhm.
so now bishop takes h7 check is interesting. It made Karpov think for a while. These, I believe, are Miles's annotations, um, and so king g6. It becomes very complicated. This is really interesting, but Miles was confident that Karpov would regard it as speculative and avoid it. Yeah, this was the juncture, and then what happens in this game was actually white kind of fritters around for a while. Now you put a knight on e4, but what's it doing? And black has the initiative on the queen side. And one of white's pawns, a whole bunch of white's pawns have fallen. And now white's pieces are just completely discombobulated. I'm not looking at an engine, so I can't objectively tell how bad this is for white. But Miles is perfectly capable of converting a position with an extra pawn and the two bishops.
Yep, that's
And
what happened.
now we now he's up 2 pawns, and Karpov gave up. Okay, so let's see now how Carlsen handles this position. So the innovation, so to speak,
Hmm.
what I've heard, was playing e6 on move 2, stabilize the center. And now we're going to play a French defense where maybe there's a point to having denied the b5 square to either white's bishop or in certain other positions, white's knights. Okay, so white plays in Tarrasch style. Okay, not Tarrasch style, classical. Well, it is now Tarrasch, like a
Yeah,
Tarrasch French defense. And it's not clear that the combination of knight d2 and capturing on c5 does not really strike me. I think black is completely fine already. Um, and now black just is able to make very active and smooth moves. And so white captures on d5, e5 by white was less attractive because in response to knight d7, white does not have b5, bishop b5 pinning the knights, as you would often do when trying to play a strong square position. Okay, so I mean, the engine still says white is a tiny, insignificant advantage. White isn't lost by any means, but black at least has a harmonious position. And now, in fact, Carlsen strikes and wins the two bishops for his trouble. So now the verdict has gone to a microscopic edge for black. Okay, so we play the rook to d8. If we castle right away, then bishop takes h7 check, and rook takes d7 would have been on. Now, what's remarkable about the rest of this game is how Carlsen grinds out the position, even though actually there is a juncture toward move 30 in this game where white plays reasonably well against the two bishops. So the real point is the two bishops will win this kind of position if central squares are denied to white's knights, if white's knights cannot establish themselves on certain squares. The other point of this position is that black has a majority on the king side, white on the queen side. But when playing against the two bishops, it's very difficult to advance those queenside pawns. And so the scope advantage, especially since white's knights are on the king side, is going to allow black to restrain white's 3 pawns by 2. But there's a trade-off. The restraining does allow squares to white's knights. So objectively speaking, white actually defends this pretty well over the next 15 moves, in my opinion. H4 was fine. I guess black couldn't take it because of rook e4.
mhm.
So it's okay to trade a pair of pawns on the king side. And it is, after all, giving some work for white's knights. Okay, now the knights go away. We traded it. Okay, so now we trade rooks. And the trade of a pair of rooks actually lessened the effect of the bishops a little bit because the two bishops really coordinate well with a rook. And white's knight still doesn't have a really comfortable perch, but f4 is not bad because e5 will give it the d5 square, and g5 would give it the h5 square, although the h5 square, it has the danger of being cut off. Okay, so black just plays a slow advance now to restrain white's majority. Black doesn't now trading queens would, on the face of it, be a mistake for white, because then the two bishops against bishop and knight are once again very effective. So white avoids the trade of queens here and brings the knight back. Now the knight is probing, so there's a little bit, again, black's advancing to restrain, but now white's knight has a few squares. c4 is not a bad square, b5 is not a bad square. Okay, so now we have the restraining position in effect, but there's a question of whether white's knight can reach d4 or b4. So in this position here, if you were playing perfectly, I would expect white to hold. But, okay, I don't know what that was doing. Carlsen's just expanding. But when it got past move 35, then I began to think, well, okay, Carlsen is going to find a way to win this. Okay, we've cut off the white bishop. We've established a center. White at least has a square for the knight. And now, actually, the engine says that the game is just about equal and that white could profitably break with c4. There are some tactics that have to be seen. In fact, actually, this, I don't know how critically, this is sitting over a counterattack by white on the long diagonal. That's the point of c4. So that now black's king, okay, well, white regains the piece. And white has achieved activity and has broken the bishop pair. So I think that would be a fine outcome for white. But I said it's always a little difficult if you need tactics to maintain your position. So white played a sensible move, knight b4, knight's on an unassailable square. The only thing that white has to worry about here especially is that the knight is not defending the king side, nor is white's bishop. And there is the danger of black putting a lot of pressure on the g3 square in particular, if f4 can be effective. But let's see what happens. Okay, so black got the king out of the way of checks of the kind we saw. And now this is where I was sure Carlsen was going to win the game. And I stopped watching because I had to go actually bicycle into campus at this point. And now white broke with c4, but it enables black to come in. And now this already is a misstep that white cannot recover from, because what white has perhaps not noticed is that the bishop that was on e8 and seemingly out of play is going to invade via h5 after g5.
Oh my God!
Yes. So now this is quite serious. So white tries to lash back, but now other danger. If white trades queens, black has a passed pawn, but there isn't that much choice for white. So king f1, queen b1 check, king g2, bishop h5 is already curtains, because bishop f3 check and mate on h8 is coming up. So white cannot defend b2 in the back rank, so that forced white to capture. But now this is just terrible. Two bishops plus a passed pawn is often curtains. Now white could not take on c4 because the knight was hanging, so white was counting on this double attack, being able to regain the pawn, but there are just too many pawns falling. Okay, so this is very artful. White cannot take the bishop because then black's pawn just comes down to queen. So now the two bishops are in their resting place, and white can't move the knight because the b pawn is lost, and black can just take time. Well, okay, white moved the knight, lost the b pawn, trying to get rid of black's last pawn on the queen side, but we're not going to let that happen. White had to move the king because black's bishop was going to fork, and now this a pawn is unstoppable. Look how excellent the bishops are at escorting it, and white is 2 pawns down anyway. Time to resign, and white did. So okay, so that was that pure better command of the board than white showed, and so that was Carlsen's game from this round. From that round, now Carlsen has now established a completely winning position against Keimer. Now this is significant because not only has Vincent Keimer gone over the 2,700 mark, but he's a wunderkind. He's considered someone who might advance to challenge for the title, over the course of the next decade. He had a very strong performance, I think, at Viscountay, but this is a textbook way to play against the Najdorf Sicilian defense. Okay, so I used to play this way. So this is bishop c4, Bobby Fischer's move, and then a4. I used to play this way. The idea is you're going to play a5, and now you're restraining black's pawns on the queen side. So this involves playing on both sides of the board, and black has to be very...
And could black allies, instead of bishop e7, play knight e4 and then d5, or it doesn't work?
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, it probably doesn't work. These lines are heavily analyzed.
I know.
So, knight takes e4. Okay, it's not among the 3 moves. Let's see what happens here. So white just takes it, and black goes d5, and it says white just develops. Take your pieces. White is slowly better. Okay, so it's obviously this needs analyzing, though. I'm not gonna say the 0.6 advantage is definitive here.
Almost in any line, white had advantage after 6 moves.
Yeah.
Similar to this.
Right. So this obviously, it may have been regarded as a reason not to play like this. And now black has this option again, although I think with white having castled the tactics, okay, so now it just does not work. It does not work because black moved his bishop, and now queen g5. Queen g4 is probably strong. So, okay, so worth asking, but these are all normal moves. So the thing is, about this position is that Keimer gets in incredible trouble through playing completely normal moves. Actually, I would have played knight d7 instead of bishop d7 there.
And then knight c5.
Yeah, then knight c5. Right, exactly. That's that. So this might be already slipping, but I'm also sure that this is known. Now white plays a5, and the point is that now black can say goodbye to ideas of playing b5 himself. So black goes after white's bishop. So this maybe is a point. Now, first of all, the engine is telling me that knight f5 is really strong. In fact, wait a sec. Something. Wait, is this real? Okay. Black plays knight g4. Okay. First of all, so white can't take it because black takes the bishop. And knight f5 is the engine saying that that's really strong. Wow, what's going on here? Takes, and then knight d5. Oh, okay. I go here. And then bishop b6, I go here. Oh, and I see black's being smothered. Yeah, look at that. Okay, black loses the rook in the corner. Wow. Okay, so that's crazy. Why didn't Carlsen play that? Wow. Okay, so Keimer played a surprise move, and oh no, Carlsen did play knight f5. Wait. Okay.
Oh, he did.
He did.
Wow.
Okay. So black played bishop takes bishop f6 instead of taking it. And now white played bishop b6. Okay, so black is just in a load of trouble. So something went wrong in the opening. And black's still hanging on, but so no, look at this. What has black achieved? Black has lost c7 for the queen. The knight is on a square where it's going to be pushed back. Black's bishop is on the wrong square. Black's queen knight has still not been activated. So this, you would probably lose this to a 2400 player, not just Carlsen.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, so black's position is just in ruins. The D pawn is isolated. This is where everything has gone bad in the night or for black. Um,
95 is probably possible.
we have F6 actually.
Oh, F6
You
is,
did,
yeah.
yeah, F6. Black doesn't have a knight on D7 to stop that.
Mm.
So this is a okay. Our king side is wrecked too. Doesn't
Oh,
matter about the B pawn dropping off. You're probably not even going to get time to take it. Okay, you did. Okay, it's just too many airy squares here, even though white's down a pawn. And in fact, black gave up. So this was the position I saw before black gave up. So this is just you're just going to get pile driven here.
white is down a pawn and black is down a king.
Right, yeah. King H8 is the only move I could see to try to stay alive for a little bit. But or Rook D6, you have your knight is pinned, and Rook F7, Queen D4 check. Your king is
Yeah.
going. Oh yeah, it's just winning Okay, everything's falling off here.
Hmm.
So that again is just extremely powerful play by our world champion. Um,
Very
so
good game.
very
Very
good game. Yes, and I want to look at one of the women's games
Yeah,
um,
it's fun.
from yesterday. As I said, it's European Club Championship, but there are players from every continent. Okay, so you have Yushin Song playing for the SK Ljubljana.
Hmm.
Um, okay, but let's see. There was one game that I had in mind. I know. That I was had in mind to look at. Oh, Dina Belankaya. That's right. That's the game I wanted to
Hmm.
show. So this is very interesting. I think that's Dina Belankaya right there. Okay, so Dina Belankaya is an interesting personality, and I have to say, there's a legitimate question of what is her real rating. I think she's really about 2,400 strength.
Mm.
Maybe she'll prove it in this tournament. But it's hard to say you're 2,400 strength when your most noted chess game last year was played as part of a chess boxing competition. Okay, so she's an internet personality, but here she is playing for an Israeli club. So let's see how she handles this. Okay, so typical setup with a Rati opening is going to be a King's Indian attack, I imagine, with E4. Here we go. So it's always interesting to see how black defends this. I never like playing the black side of these. You expand on the queen side, but sometimes it feels you expand into empty air while you're getting mated. So white is playing strong point chess. If black had played G5 effectively, that's the question. But black just plays the queen side. Now white plays H4, no more G5 idea. White is just going to expand slowly on the king side. Black is going to expand slowly on the queen side. But one essential difference here is that there are no kings on the queen side in this position. Now this is also interesting. As I said, I fear playing this as black. The engine thinks that black is ahead. Okay, and this is one type of position to investigate for maybe engines having the wrong positional sense. Because you only win this kind of position as black if you're able to invade squares like D3. So Hikaru played a game against a computer where Hikaru played very slowly as white and actually allowed black to invade and was probably objectively lost, but eventually hung on with rook and knight against the queen.
Mhm.
I don't know if I could find the game. But as said, so this so I don't know. So let's see. So why was the engine giving black? So the engine was saying black should just play A4. Oh, A4, big deal. Okay. So that's the thing. All right. So black already starts defending. Black feels a little bit of the heat coming on the queen side. Bishop takes H6, knight takes H6. It's all in the air. Black fortifies that. Even rook D1 could be construed as an attacking move. Okay, your A pawn comes up. All right, so what? The engine still thinks that black has the advantage here, but unless black can crash through in the center, this is not going to scare me. Or even if black makes a queen on the A file, You still sometimes lose these positions. Okay. So white now, rook e4, nice rook lift move. You gave me that square. Now the game is totally equal. I think black has actually lost already. Okay, and it just takes one little misstep for the engine to agree with me. So how is the engine going to hold this? The only way to hold this for black was king h7, according to the engine. What? It's I mean, okay, it's maybe a sensible move, and maybe there's a deep defensive plan for it. But if that's your only move to avoid an advantage of more than one pawn, then in practical terms, you're going to misstep and be lost. So black has actually been dithering, and now white just plays a natural move. Now, the problem is that these two knights are not defending the king side. Black is not going to be able to stop white from crashing through. I haven't even seen this game, but I know what's going to happen. Crash through, and now, okay, that's really crashing through if you're a powerful defensive powerful passed pawn gets whipped off. Okay, and now this joins party, and so now, okay, mate coming up on h8. Black throws a knight in to delay it a little bit, but there are just too many holes in this position. And after being mauled a little more, black gives up. Okay, and lose the knight.
Massacre.
So a very impressive move, but also something to say about strategy. That I really think the King's Indian attack, I always feared it. I never liked, with b6, with my way of playing that way, white could often arrange a King's Indian attack, and I was always uncomfortable playing against it. So,
very interesting. You remember there was a well-known Russian journalist, chess journalist, Alexander Roshal. He wrote several chess books, and he was always accompanying Karpov in all his world championship matches, including with Korchnoi and so on. And he was a pretty good chess player, I would say, probably 2,300, maybe even more in his heydays. And I played a lot of blitz games against him when I was in Moscow in the 90s. And what's interesting is we were playing for money, like $10 a game, approximately. Blitz, 5 minutes games. Now, in all games when he was playing white, he was playing a King Indian opening, like similar to what we just saw. And I found a dilemma. It was very difficult for me I was playing basically the same thing, like b5, a5, and all that stuff. But still, I had to spend a lot of time to figuring out his maneuvers, like a knight g4, knight f3, build up, and sacrifices, and so on. So every time I had to spend a little bit of time to figure out what to do. And most of the games he was winning on time, simply because I couldn't find quick and reasonable responses. So finally, I switched to something completely different. On e4, now when I was playing white, I didn't have any problems with him. It was with black after e4. So I responded g5. So he couldn't play knight f3 because I would play g4 right away.
Oh,
so he had to spend time to figure out what to do. And I mean, he didn't have any problems because g5 definitely is probably one of the weakest moves in the beginning position. But at least I was able to play some kind of reasonable tactical game. My position was worse most of the time, but he had to spend time now, and I started to winning the games simply because I made him running out of time. We played 5 and 5, no increments at that time, as you know. So that was to my advantage. And anyway, that's very interesting opening that reminded me my time with Alexander Roshal. Okay, Ken, let's continue to watch these tournaments. Right. And we'll figure out next week. Maybe there will be something interesting for us to watch. Maybe some more Carlson games. And
yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay.
U.S. Championship. So.
Oh, U.S. Championship. Okay. Right. Now we are talking about something. Okay, so listen,
Okay.
have a great week ahead of you, and see you same time, same place next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye
Yeah.
bye, everybody.
Bye bye.